That means to understand law, the present may be important, but the present you cannot understand unless and until you analyze the past. Because the past and present are very closely related. Right? To appreciate present, it is important to appreciate the past. And that's how they say to understand law in a proper perspective, you need to analyze the law as it was. Right? As it is, as it was. So they look at law in its origin and development. And for them, law is something which is not the manifestation of the will of the state. It is the manifestation of the will of the people. It is not imposed from above. What happens? It comes from where? It is not imposed from above. It comes from where? It comes from within the society. It originates in the society, it comes from within the society. Right? And then we move to the third one. That one is sociological. They said we have what it does. Underline. As it is, as it was, what it does. Or what is the function of law? Any law which you make or found in the society, what is the function of that law? Or whether that function is being properly carried out. Or whether the law is able to meet the function of that law. Understand? And if the law is not functional, it has no use to the society, it has no purpose, then in that case there is no idea of having a law. So that's why they say to appreciate and study law in a proper sense, go to the society, study the functioning of particular law. Then you come to know whether the law is relevant or the law is not relevant. And if the law is not relevant, then find out, suggest ways and means to improve that law. Right? And that's what the jurists of the sociological school of jurisprudence are saying. In that case, Roscoe Pound is the main person who said law is social engineering. In the first one, the law was independent theory of law. Law is the command of the political superior. In the second, law is populist, spirit of the people, manifestation of will of people. In third one, it is social engineering. Right? And then we move to the fourth one. They said you should also look at the working of the courts. To understand law in a proper sense, please look at the working of the courts also. Unless and until you do not look at the working of the courts, you will not be able to appreciate as to what law is. Because a large part of the law is altered, changed, modified through the instruments of the judiciary courts. That's why they say it is also very important to look at what the courts are doing in practice. And that's why Justice Holmes said, life of law is not logic, it is experience. Right? Life of law is not logic, it is experience. And that's how we finish that. After that, today we will start with the natural law school. Or some people also like to call it philosophical school of jurisprudence. Can you play that? Are you doing? Now, according to them, look carefully. They say we need to look at the law as it ought to be, not as it is, not as it was, not as it functions, not the practice of the courts. But then they say analyze the law as it ought to be. Underline the word ought to be. What does that mean? What does that mean? What would that mean?
The idealistic law, sir.
Huh?
Idealistic.
Wait. Idealistic law means what?
What is the need of the?
They say that law will always be there in the society. It may be in any form. We are not bothered. What we need to look at is whether the law is fulfilling the ideal for which it is made. And for this, you should look at law as it should be. Underline, as it should be. As it should be or as it ought to be. As it ought to be. What does that mean? That means you can write down the sentence. The jurists of the natural law school, they are trying to look at law something higher than positive law. Subject, something higher than positive law. That means in whatever form the law we have, our work is not complete. We need to do something else. And that something else is whatever system of law we have created, we should also look at what the law ought to be. How to improve it further. How to elevate it to the capacity of what it ought to be. Right? Otherwise, the purpose will not be achieved. And that's why they are looking at the ideal element of law. Idealistic. They are going very idealistic and looking at the ideal element in law. Ideal वाला नहीं है, ideally नहीं है. Ideal है, ideal. So ideal, ideal in law. Where do you find the ideals?
Preamble.
Preamble. Where do you look at the preamble? What the preamble says? Read this. Read the preamble. Come. Go there. Now let us see closely. Closely look at the preamble. What the preamble is showing. That any system of law
says that we the people of India
we the people of India
have been solemnly resolved to constitute India into a
ideals क्या है?
socialist, secular,
democratic,
republic.
All these are ideals. That India would be a kind of a system where we will try to achieve all these ideals and shine in the constitution of India. Some of the natural law philosophy. Liberty of thought, liberty of belief. Yes.
Expression, belief, faith, and worship.
And worship. Right? These are all ideals provided in the constitution of India. Any other ideal provided?
Equality of status and of opportunity.
Equality of status and equality of opportunity.
And to promote among them all.
Among them all, fraternity.
Fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual
Right?
and the unity and integrity of the nation.
Unity of the individual. Where do you find these rights effectuated? What constitutional values, what ideas we provide in the preamble? Where they are broadly for other rights.
Start right.
14.
Article 14 is right to equality. Equality before law.
That's what the preamble said. 14. 15.
Prohibition of discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth.
That's another ideal which the constitution aspires to achieve. Next.
Article 16, equality of opportunity in matters of public employment.
Right? That's a fundamental right. Yeah.
Article 17, abolition of untouchability.
I discussed it yesterday. Yeah.
Article 18, abolition of titles.
Titles. Titles are abolished because the titles the Britishers used to give for those who signed with them. For those titles are abolished. Yeah.
Article 19, protection of certain rights regarding freedom of speech. All citizens shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, to assemble peacefully without arms, to form associations or unions, to move freely throughout the territory of India, to reside and settle in any part of the territory of India, to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business.
These are the natural rights given to you. These are ideals, right, in the form of ideals, right? Next.
Article 20. Protection in respect of conviction for offences.
Okay, 21.
Protection of life and personal liberty.
Yeah, that is the most important article we said, where we say procedure restricted by law. Right, sit up. And also in the fundamental rights, right, where we find that the scheme of the Constitution itself provides that these are the ideals which in the Indian Union we would like to have or like to achieve through the instruments of law. That whatever law you make, and that's how it is because of this that the natural law clearly says that natural rights have been given to the human beings by the very fact that you are human beings. The very fact that we are human beings, we are given certain natural rights. And we also have intrinsic sense of right and wrong. In every human being, there is an intrinsic sense. हमें इतनी समझ है, क्या समझ है? That what is wrong, what is right, right? And then that is kind of an inherent quality available to each and every person. And that's how there are three very important components of the philosophical or the natural law school. That is law emanates from nature in the form of natural rights. We just mentioned these rights, right? In the form of natural rights. Second is reasoning. Now, sometimes if there is a civil law, and if there is a law of nations, or if there is any other law, if it is in conflict, then which law will prevail? According to the natural law school, the natural law will prevail. The fundamental right will prevail, right? So, because it is the ideal which is the higher ideal which we aspire to achieve. So, the three important theories of justice, as far as the natural law school is concerned, which are the theories of justice, which emanates from these rights? Any idea? We have discussed it actually. What are the three theories of justice which we think emanate from these rights? Concept like due process of law in America, right? Due process of law in America. Then, which are the other two? Rule of law in England. Rule of law in England, the theory of justice. And third, what is in India? Article 21. Procedure established by law. So these are the three theories of justice which are outcome of the natural law philosophy or the philosophical school of jurisprudence, that we aspire to have natural justice, right? And the doctrine of natural justice is justice, equity, good conscience. So these three theories of justice, which are the outcome of the natural law philosophy or the natural law school, are very important, and these are due process of law, then the rule of law, and the procedure established law. And finally, we saw yesterday that the procedure established law should be, and not any procedure, every procedure. It should be established by law. That means what? It should fulfill the ambitions of the natural justice. What are those ambitions? What are those ambitions? What are those ambitions? Just and fair. We discussed yesterday that the procedure should be just and fair. Right? It should be just and fair. That's how this school is concerned with the law as it should be, ought to be, and they are concerned with the element of law which is made up of ideals as to the ends, what legal research ought to be. Because every law is meant for some end, achieving certain ends in a society. It's a purposive order. Purpose है law का कोई, right? That's how it is a purpose in legal order. Law is found, they say no problem. Law may be made, law may be found, but ultimately they believe that it is for attaining a higher ideal. Right? So binding force of this law is not the command of the sovereign. It is not the social pressure. It is not the social purpose. What is the binding force? Ethical force. It is the ethical force. Justice force is the ethical force or moral force. So that makes it binding. Right? And what are the sources? Sources can be nature, sources can be reasoning, sources can be, what can be third source? Religion. Nature, reasoning and religion. These are the three main fountainheads of for where the rights can flow. Next, can we move next? So, no particular choice for any form of law. They say it may come from nature in the form of natural rights, which we discussed just now. It can be in the form of reasoning. Actually, this was used by the Greek, the Romans in fact. When they say law can be just natural law, this can be just gentium, law of nations, and it can be just civil, the law of the land. And if there is a conflict between any law, then the law of natural justice will prevail. Law of natural justice will prevail. That's how, and they hold diverse philosophical view. They don't subscribe to any particular point of view because their philosophical views have been changing. Because of this fact, because this is one of the oldest school of law or school of jurisprudence. It is as old as 5,000 years, like Indian civilization has been as old as Romans, Greeks, maybe older than that, and we have a history of 5,000-year-old history where we have been having these institutions, right? And that's how the concepts like natural law, natural rights, fundamental rights, rule of law are the examples of the legal order which is higher than positive law. This is what we want to attain. And anything which comes to your mind, which is the outcome of the natural law theory, any other concept which is not mentioned here, very close to fundamental rights. Human rights. Human rights are the outcome of the natural law philosophy. Fundamental rights, human rights are the outcome. They are not given by any political superior. They have not come from any society. They are not the product of the social school of jurisprudence, or they are not given by courts. They are given by the natural law philosophy. Every right, every person, every human being, because of the fact that while a human being is interested with or is having fundamental rights and also human rights. Right? So the concepts like human rights are very, very central and important as per the natural law process. Yes?
Sir, I have a question. Can fundamental duties be also part of that?
No. Fundamental duties are not there.
Because they tell us that what should be like.
But still, fundamental right duties are not a part of the emergence of the natural. Those are different kind of rights. Right? Next we move. So it has a flexible meaning. As we said, sometimes it was related with nature, sometimes with reasoning, and sometimes with religion. And they said when we say religion, they say law is not the command of the sovereign, but the law is the command of the religion. Yeah? When we say religion, what is the command? What is the command? God. Where from Hindu law came, Muslim law came, Christian law came. All these personal law of the communities we believe emanated from the God. God revealed these laws to the human beings. Right? Law is not the command of the political superior, but law is the command of the God. And that was at one time, religion was very important in the state. And even the king was bound by the dictates of religious act. And the religious act used to be justice. Remember? So, and there was a domination of the church as far as the European societies were concerned, right? But after the Reformation period, the authority of the church collapsed, and then it was again a revival of the natural law we find. That's how natural law is conceived by its exponents in that it may come from man, it may come from society, but it is always in the nature of natural law or religion or society. When we say it is religion, right? So, but it is independent of conventions or legislations. It is the source of this law is entirely different. Can we move ahead? So these methods are a priori. A priori means something we accept for guarantee. We don't question it, right? We don't question the nature. We don't question the religion. We accept it as it is. You may like it, you may not like it, but you accept it. So its meaning has been changing, confusing, and sometimes self-contradictory. So it has been used in the sense of natural reason, moral ideal law, or social justice. Are these some of the concepts which have been having varied meaning as the society progressed? Their meanings also changed. Right. Next. The best part is that this kind of these basic human rights are immutable, universal, and absolute. They don't change with the changing times. These rights are fundamental rights don't change. Fundamental rights and human rights do not change. They are universal, found everywhere in every system. Fundamental rights found everywhere. Human rights found everywhere in every system. Right? So they are absolute and they are immutable. Absolute means there is no compromise. They can't be neutralized. They can't be compromised with. And they are universal. They are universally. If you go to any system in politically development job, you find human rights and fundamental rights are available. See any constitution of the world which is a democracy, you find these rights are available. So natural law has been used as a weapon and also a shield to status quo. It has been having different kind of function at different points of time. And that's why we find the philosophy of natural law enshrined in part 3 and part 4 of the Constitution, as we just mentioned. Right? And what is the part 4? Directive principles of the state policy. Can you read it again? Come. See what is there, then you understand it better. You will understand. Just read the headings. Yeah. That, you see what the directive of social policy, just read the headings. When we are talking about natural rights in the form of ideals, now look at what ideas the Indian society want to achieve through the law, and they are provided, those guidelines are provided in the directive principles of the state policy. Number 1,
equal justice and free legal.
equal 38 people, 38.
State to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people.
Right? It is the duty of the state to secure social welfare. Right? Everybody feels safe. Now that is the ideal which the Indian society set for itself through the Constitution of India. Right? So that is the importance of the natural law philosophy. 39.
Article 39, certain principles of policy to be followed by the state, and the Article 39A mentions equal justice and free legal aid.
Yes, equal justice to all, access to justice and free legal aid. You know that we had a wonderful project, 39A and Valley, right?
Article 40, organization of village panchayats.
Yeah, we must have grassroots level democracy. Our idea is also to have not parliament and state legislatures, but also grassroots level democracy, local self-government. Yeah.
Article 41, right to work to educate, right to work to education and to public assistance in certain cases.
Right to work and right to education is another ideal for everybody. Yeah.
Article 42, provision for just and humane condition of work and maternity relief.
And wherever we work, the conditions should be humane. Like if there are certain people working in industries or anywhere or in mines, in very hazardous kind of situations, then we should provide them a safe haven. The working conditions should be safe.
Article 43, living wage, etc. for workers.
Living wage for everybody. That will be ideal.
It also mentions Article 43A, participation of workers in management of industries.
So that they also participate in the policy making of the industry, right?
And 43B, promotion of cooperative societies.
Yeah. So that you form your own cooperatives to procure your things of daily needs.
Article 44 mentions about UCC, Uniform Civil Code for citizens.
We also aspire. The ideal is let us try to have a uniform civil code, and that's the controversy going on. I don't know whether we have it or we don't have it, because the kind of society we have, different religions, diverse population. Some people are in favor of it, some people are not in favor of it. Even Hindus have a different kind of laws. Mithakshara is different, Dharma is different. Even for Hindus, we don't have uniform civil code. So in a country like ours, ideal of course is there, but we do not know whether these ideas can be achieved or not. But this is what we aspired by the Constitution of India. Yes.
Article 45, provision for early childhood care and education to children below the age of 6 years.
Right to education to every children, right? We already have a law now. Right? This is made in consonance with these ideals. Yeah.
Article 46, promotion of educational and economic interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and other weaker sections.
Special provisions for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes so that they get education and get educated. Right?
Article 47, duty of the state to raise the level of nutrition and the standard of living and to improve public health.
Yeah, to take care of public health, to provide all kind of medical facilities so that nutrition level of people in the society is increased.
Article 48, organization of agriculture and animal husbandry.
Yeah, also make our animal husbandry and animal stock.
Which also has a subsection, Article 48A, protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forest and wildlife.
Right, protection of the forest and also to safeguard the environment. And environment of presently has become a very, very important heritage to be protected. And you see, when you will study constitutional law, you will find that single-handedly there are NGOs like MC Mehta, there are, I don't know how many cases are there, they fight for keeping the environment clean. Yeah.
Article 49, protection of monuments
Yeah.
and places and objects of national
our old heritage to protect those heritage buildings.
Article 50 mentions about separation of judiciary and executive.
Yeah, that is another ideal that they should be separate and independent.
Article 51, promotion of international peace and security.
Yeah, we also make laws which promote our international peace and security. That's it. No, good. Now these are all ideals. These are all ideals to be very, very clear and so that we don't confuse anywhere. Article preamble, then the product rights, then the directive to state policy, they all provide us very clear guidelines as to when we make a law in the Indian Union. Any law we make, we will be taking care of this. And we will not make ever any law which is in contravention to any of these ideals which are enshrined in article in preamble or in whatever rights or in directive to state policy. They may not be enforceable. Preamble may not be enforceable. Directive to state policy may not be enforceable. But at the same time, they are very, very, very important guidelines that for Indian Union, we make a law, we take care of this. And this is all the contribution and outcome of the natural law first. Is it clear to you? Right. Next. So the concept of rule of law, as I said, due process of law and the procedure as per law are all the product of the natural law philosophy, wherein a sovereign must act under law and the sovereign is not above the law. Right? And then, in a sense, natural law thinking published positive law is subjected to moral order. We know that is the whole idea, that we are trying to attain something higher than positive law, and positive law is subjected to the moral order. It's not that the sovereign is above the law and he or she can do whatever they like, right? So we can close with that. अभी छोड़ दीजिए, ये हो गया. We can go to the controlling part. And now we have been through all these approaches. We have been through radical positivism, we have been through historical approach, we have been through sociological, we have been through realist, we have been through natural law approach also. Now we started with the question, what is law? Now we know some definitions. Law is the command of the political superior, right? And then law is the focus, spirit of the people, and sociological present law is social engineering, right? And then they say, see the working of the home said that prophecies of what the court will decide is what I mean by law, right? And here it is no particular definition given by the natural law jurists. They say it can be identified with nature, it can be, if it is with religion, then law is not the command of the sovereign, it is the command of the God, right? So, can we proceed now? We can proceed, we have done it, we have done it also. All area. Can you? So now, this is the, so usually now, what is law then? Again. Now finally when we have been through all these approaches, now the question is, what is law now? What is the law? Law is a word, you know, IILM, simple word. But when we come to define law, there is a problem. Because when you probably ask me what is law, I can't show you like I show you a glass of water. This is like gold. Or it is like a coke. It is not like that. Law is something very, very different. Because they have very different uses, different meanings, and it depends in which context the word law is used. Sometimes even a law, the law, or law makes a different meaning. And that's how, in spite of that, there are few definitions given by various jurists. That is, for example, law is the will of the God. I mean, the moment we did that, expressed in commands revealed to certain people and through their chosen instruments. Like in Hindu law, we find in other systems, law is the command of the God, Srutis, Kritis. So that is how. Second is, law is divine or human law. Divine law is the law given by the God to the human beings, and human law is the positive law, which comes from the sovereign in the form of the law and the command of the political superior. So again, we have different definitions in that format. Next, law is a word. Law is a product of man's capacity to reason. That was the natural law philosophy. That is, every human being possesses an inherent sense of right and wrong. Can you give me an example? Say, for example, a very strong man is beating a weak person. In beating a weak person, what would be your immediate reaction? What would be your immediate reaction? What reaction you will make? This is wrong. You are so strong, he is so weak. How can you beat this person? You touch me, I'll show you. No. Sometimes you react. Why are you beating? He is so weak. So that the intrinsic sense of right and wrong, that intrinsic sense of justice in every human being, that is wrong. He is the outcome of the natural law or philosophy again, and that is because of the reasoning we have. Again, it is in two parts: natural law and the positive law. We have already done it, and law is the command of the sovereign or the political superior. That is another definition which we did. Next. Law is the instrument of man uses to attempt achieve justice in society. Again, it is the natural law philosophy. Law is an instrument of social engineering, the sociological philosophy. Law is an instrument by disciplinary. Law is what the courts declare it to be. The realist school theory which we discussed yesterday. Next. For a participating lawyer, if you ask a lawyer what is law, the answer will be different. If you ask a judge, the answer will be different. And the answer of a lawyer may not satisfy a judge. The answer of a judge may not satisfy the lawyer, or it may not satisfy anybody else. Because the answers can be sometimes unsatisfying and irritating. Because sometimes we say, this is not the purpose for which I am asking. Because the purpose of asking what is law is different for different situations, for different people. And it is very proper or appropriate to ask what is your purpose? Why are you asking? Maybe then we will be able to explain it better. Yeah. It turns out that the inquirer does not really want to know what the law is. When he or she says what is law, probably they want to know what, not like what gold is, or one can recognize it when he sees it, or distinguish it from other things or relate it to other things. What it does, what it seeks to achieve, why it is necessary, how it is developed, how it changes, how it is related to morality, science, religion, politics, economics. The answer depends on what is your purpose. And every time the definition would be different. When you define law in terms of all this, then the meaning will be different. The meaning will change. The meaning will vary. Right? Next. The schools, so the learning is, the schools are complementary rather than opposed. What does that mean? What is said by one school, that is not the complete idea of law. It is completed by second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. So they complement each other. Sometimes they can be opposed also, but mostly they are complementary. And when we study all those approaches, then we get a clear idea of what the law is. Right? And then, but if you read back on the pages which we have given you, there's a difficulty is, everybody says that what I am saying is right. The difficulty is, every school of thought, they say what I am saying is right. My ideas are right. Others may be right or may be wrong. But mine are the best ideas. So this is what they say, that there is only one road to growth has tended to absolute respect. If we have to come to DSNLU, there are various ways. You come from north, south, east, west, and if I say no, you can come only from north, that will not be the proper answer to this. So that has created a problem for as far as the meaning of law is concerned. Various jurists, they try to approach the definition, the question of definition of law in their own way. What they think about it. And that may not be necessarily true. Others may not agree, others may or may not agree. So that is the difficulty, that we are not in entirety, we are not able to define as to what a law is. And finally, now, next, this is the lesson, which you will not forget. Now, see what happened. 5 blind people, they said to their supervisor of the blind school, we want to see an elephant. And he said, how can you see an elephant? You can't see. They insisted, no, we'll go to the zoo and see the elephant. The supervisor said, okay, come with me, we'll go to the zoo and see the elephant. So once they reached the zoo, and the teacher said, the elephant is before you, now you can feel this elephant. So one person came forward, was able to touch the body of the elephant, and said, sir, it's like a wall. Diwar ki tarah se. Another one able to touch the feet of the elephant, said, sir, it's like a tree. Third person was able to touch the tail of the elephant, said, sir, it's like a rope. Fourth person was able to touch the ears of the elephant, said it's like a fan. And the fifth person came forward and was able to touch the trunk of the elephant and said, sir, it's like a development. Now, everybody, whatever everybody experienced, they were trying to explain according to their experience as to what an elephant is like. Elephant is of course like a ball, of course like a tree, of course like a fan, of course like another pillow, and of course like a rope. But the elephant in entirety could not be explained by those five blind people. Exactly the same way, these five schools of jurisprudence and the jurists are trying to explain that elephant in their own way, but not necessarily true that whatever they say, they explain law in entirety and they make us understand actually what law is. For us, the difficulty is because law is a changing concept. It is changing from society to society, place to place, from times to times. But ultimately, we can explain it when we look at like those five blind people in entirety. Then we can be able to explain some part of the problem as to what is law. So when we conclude, we can probably take care of this example, which will make us very clear that where we started by saying what is law, we went through all those five approaches and finally came to the conclusion that it is not possible to give a final definition of law. Different people have different perspectives for defining law, and all definitions may be true, all definitions may not be true. A true definition of law, a correct definition of law, a final definition of law is not possible till date. आज तक कोई final definition नहीं आई है, which is true for all times to come, and which will be applied to all situations and all times. With that, we conclude the final chapter as to what is the difficulty in defining law, right? So thank you very much for. I really enjoyed being with you. And with that, we conclude the schools of jurisprudence and the final lecture. The problem where we started, what is law and why it is difficult to define what law is, because it's always changing from society to society, from time to time. It is a dynamic concept, change करता रहेगा, कर रहा है, तो ऐसी concept को आप कैसे define? And that is the reason. So entirely, for all times to come, law cannot be defined. So thank you very much. Any questions? Any questions you have? Please. We have 5 minutes. We can go some time.
Hello. Sir, my question was basically law, and all of them are true to some extent, but not to their full extent. So, all the jurists that have given their own definitions are describing certain aspects of law that may all be true to their own capacity. Is that correct? Is that
Perfect.
Thank you.
But then that may not be true for you, may not be true for them. But for them, they say this is the only way to define law. So that is the difficulty, right? You are absolutely right.